There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God with reverence, and abstained from and turned away from evil, because he honored God. 7 sons and 3 daughters were born to him. He also possessed 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoked pairs of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a very great number of servants, so that this man was the greatest and wealthiest and most respected of all the men of the east northern Arabia. His sons used to go in turn and feast at the house of each one on his day, and they would send word and invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When the days of their feasting were over, Job would send for them and consecrate them, rising early in the morning and offering burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Job did this at all such times. Now there was a day when the sons of God, angels, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan, adversary, accuser, also came among them. The Lord said to Satan, "From where have you come?" Then Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming around the earth and from walking around on it." The Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered and reflected on my servant Job? For there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God with reverence, and abstains from and turns away from evil because he honors God." Then Satan answered the Lord, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not put a hedge of protection around him and his house and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands and conferred prosperity and happiness upon him, and his possessions have increased in the land. But put forth your hand now and destroy all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, all that Job has is in your power, and only do not put your hand on the man himself." So Satan departed from the presence of the Lord. Now there was a day when Job's sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in the oldest brother's house. And a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing and the donkeys were feeding beside them, and the Sabaeans attacked and swooped down on them and took away the animals. They also killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger also came and said, "The fire of God lightning has fallen from the heavens and has burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger also came and said, "The Chaldeans formed 3 bands and made a raid on the camels and have taken them away and have killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger also came and said, "Your sons and your daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and suddenly a great wind came from across the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house, and it fell on the young people, and they died, and I alone had escaped to tell you." Then Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head in mourning for the children, and he fell to the ground and worshipped God. He said, "Naked without possessions I came into this world from my mother's womb, and naked I will return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Through all of this, Job did not sin, nor did he blame God. Again there was a day when the sons of God, angels, came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan, adversary, accuser, also came among them to present himself before the Lord. The Lord said to Satan, "From where have you come?" And Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming around the earth and from walking around on it." The Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered and reflected on my servant Job? For there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God with reverence and abstains from and turns away from evil because he honors God. And still he maintains and holds tightly to his integrity, although you incited me against him to destroy him without cause." Satan answered the Lord, "Skin for skin. Yes, a man will give all he has for his life. But put forth your hand now and touch his bone and his flesh and severely afflict him, and he will curse you to your face." So the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, he is in your hand. Only spare his life." So Satan departed from the presence of the Lord and struck Job with loathsome boils and agonizingly painful sores from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. And Job took a piece of broken pottery with which to scrape himself, and he sat down among the ashes, rubbish, and heaps. Then his wife said to him, "Do you still cling to your integrity and your faith and trust in God without blaming him? Curse God and die." But he said to her, "You speak as one of the spiritually foolish women speaks, ignorant and oblivious to God's will. Shall we indeed accept only good from God and not also accept adversity and disaster?" In spite of all this, Job did not sin with the words from his lips. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this adversity that had come upon him, each one came from his own place: Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come and to sympathize with him and to comfort him. When they looked from a distance and did not recognize him because of his disfigurement, they raised their voices and wept, and each one tore his robe in grief, and they threw dust over their heads toward the sky in sorrow. So they sat down on the ground with Job for 7 days and for 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his pain was very great. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. And Job said, "Let the day on which I was born perish, and the night which announced, there is a man-child conceived. May that day be darkness, let God above not care about it, nor light shine on it. Let darkness and gloom claim it for their own, let a cloud settle upon it, let all the blackens the day terrify it, the day that I was born. As for that night, let darkness seize it, let it not rejoice among the days of the year, let it not be counted in the number of the months. Behold, let that night be barren and empty, let no joyful voice enter it. Let those curse it who curse the day, who are skilled in rousing up Leviathan. Let the stars of its early dawn be dark, let the morning wait in vain for the light. Let it not see the eyelids of morning, the day's dawning, because it did not shut the doors of my mother's womb, nor hide trouble from my eyes. Why did I not die at birth, come forth from the womb and expire? Why did the knees receive me, when why the breast that I would nurse? For now I would have lain down and been quiet, I would have slept then, and I would have been at rest in death. With kings and counselors of the earth, who built up the now desolate ruins for themselves? Or with princes who had gold, who filled their houses with silver? Or like a miscarriage which is sudden and put away, I would not exist, like infants who never saw light. There in death the wicked cease from raging, and there the weary are at rest. There the prisoners rest together, they do not hear the taskmaster's voice. The small and the great are there, and the servant is free from his master. Why is the light given to him who is in misery, and life to the bitter in soul? Who wait for death, but it does not come, and search for death more diligently than for hidden treasures? Who rejoice exceedingly, and rejoice when they find the grave? Why is the light of day given to a man whose way is hidden, and whom God has hedged in? For my groaning comes at the sight of my food, and my cries of despair are poured out like water. For the thing which I greatly fear comes upon me, and that of which I am afraid has come upon me. I am not at ease, nor am I quiet, and I am not at rest, and yet trouble still comes upon me." Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, "If we dare to converse with you, will you be impatient or offended? But who can restrain himself from speaking? Behold, you have admonished and instructed many, and you have strengthened weak hands. Your words have helped the one who is stumbling to stand, and you have strengthened feeble knees. But now adversity comes upon you, and you are impatient and intolerant. It touches you, and you are horrified. Is it not the fear of God your confidence, and is not the integrity and uprightness of your ways your hope? Remember now who, being innocent, never perished, or where and in what circumstances were those upright and in right standing with God destroyed. As I have seen, those who plow wickedness and those who sow trouble and harm harvest it. By the breath of God they perish, and by the blast of his anger they are consumed. The roaring of the lion and the voice of the fierce lion and the teeth of the young lions are broken. The lion perishes for lack of prey, and the cubs of the lioness are scattered. Now a word was secretly brought to me, and my ear received a whisper of it. Amid disquieting thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falls on men, dread and trembling came upon me, which made all my bones shake. Then the spirit passed before my face, the hair on my skin stood on end. The spirit stood still, but I could not discern its appearance. A form was before my eyes. There was silence, and then I heard a voice saying, "Can mortal man be just before God, or be more righteous than he? Can a man be pure before his Maker, or be more cleansed than he? God puts no trust or confidence even in his heavenly servants, and he charges his angels with error. How much more will he blame and charge those who dwell in houses, bodies of clay, whose foundations are in the dust, who are crushed like a moth? Between morning and evening they are broken in pieces and destroyed. Unobserved and unnoticed they perish forever. Is not their tent cord drawn up within them so that the tent collapses? Do they not die, and yet without acquiring wisdom? Call now, is there anyone who will answer you? And to which of the Holy One's angels will you turn? For anger slays the foolish man, and jealousy kills the simple naive. I have seen the foolish taking root and outwardly prospering, but I cursed his dwelling immediately, for his destruction was certain. His children are far from safety and included in their father's ruin. They are oppressed and crushed in the courts of justice in the city's gate, and there is no one to rescue them. The hungry devour his harvest and take it even when it grows among the thorns. The trap opens for his wealth. For affliction does not come forth from the dust, nor does trouble spring forth from the ground. For man is born for trouble as naturally as sparks fly upward. As for me, I would seek God and inquire of him, and I would commit my cause to God, who does great and unsearchable things, marvelous things without number. He gives rain upon the earth and sends waters upon the fields, so that he sets on high those who are lowly, and he lifts to safety those who mourn. He frustrates the devices and schemes of the crafty, so that their hands cannot attain success or achieve anything of lasting worth. He catches the so-called wise in their own shrewdness, and the advice of the devious is quickly thwarted. In the daytime they meet in darkness, and at noon they grope as in the night. But God saves the innocent from the sword of the mouth of the devious, and the poor from the hand of the mighty. So the helpless have hope, and injustice shuts its mouth. Behold, how happy and fortunate is the man whom God reproves. So do not despise or reject the discipline of the Almighty, subjecting you to trial and suffering. For he inflicts pain, but he binds up and gives relief. He wounds, but his hands also heal. He will rescue you from 6 troubles, even in 7, evil will not touch you. In famine he will redeem you from death, and in war from the power of the sword. You will be hidden from the scourge of the tongue, and you will not be afraid of destruction when it comes. You will laugh at violence and famine, and you will not be afraid of the wild beast of the earth. For you will be in harmony with the stones of the field, and the beast of the field will be at peace with you. You will know also that your tent is secure and at peace, and you will visit your dwelling and fear no loss, nor find anything amiss. You will know also that your descendants will be many, and your offspring as the grass of the earth. You will come to your grave in old age, like the stacking of grain on the threshing floor in its season. Behold this, we have investigated it, and it is true. Hear and heed it, and know for yourself for your own good. Then Job answered and said, Oh, that my grief could actually be weighed and placed in the balances together with my tragedy, to see if my grief is the grief of a coward. For now it would be heavier than the sand of the sea, therefore my words have been incoherent. Because the arrows of the Almighty are within me, my spirit drinks their poison, the terrors of God are arrayed against me. Does the wild donkey bray when he has grass, or does the ox low over his fodder? Can something that has no taste to it be eaten without salt, or is there any flavor in the white of an egg? My soul refuses to touch them. Such things are like loathsome food to me, sickening and repugnant. Oh, that my request would come to pass, and that God would grant me the thing that I long for. I wish that it would please God to crush me, that he would let loose his hand and cut me off. Then I would still have consolation, and I would jump for joy amid unsparing pain, that I have not denied or hidden the words of the Holy One. What strength do I have left that I should wait and hope? And what is ahead of me, that I should be patient and endure? Is my strength and endurance that of stones, or is my flesh made of bronze? Is it that I have no help within myself, and that success and wisdom have been driven from me? For the despairing man there should be kindness from his friend, so that he does not turn away from the fear of the Almighty. My brothers have acted deceitfully like a brook, like the torrents of brooks that vanish, which are dull and dirty because of ice, and into which the snow melts and hides itself. When it is warm they are silent and cease to flow. When it is hot they vanish from their place. The paths of their course are a wind along. They go up into nothing and perish. Your counsel is as helpful to me as a dry stream in the heat of summer. The caravans of Tema looked for water. The caravans of Sheba waited for them in vain. They were put to shame and disappointed because they had trusted that they would find water. They came there and were ashamed. Indeed, you have now become like a dried up stream. You see a terror, believing me to be a victim of the wrath of God, and are afraid to be compassionate. Did I ever say, give me something, or pay a bribe for me from your wealth, or rescue me from the adversary's hand, or redeem me from the hand of the tyrants? Teach me, and I will be silent, and show me how I have erred. How painful are words of honesty, but what does your argument prove? Do you intend to reprove my words with a convincing argument, when the words of one in despair belong to the wind and go ignored? You should cast lots and gamble over the fatherless and bargain away your friend. Now please look at me and see if I lie to your face, for you know that I would not. Turn away from your suspicion. Let there be no injustice. Turn away, my righteousness and vindication is still in it. Is there injustice or malice on my tongue? Can my palate not discern what is destructive? Is not man forced to labor on earth? And are not his days like the days of a hired man? As a slave earnestly longs for the shade, and as a hired man eagerly waits his wages, so I am allotted months of futility and suffering, and long nights of trouble and misery are appointed to me. When I lie down, I say, when shall I arise and the night be gone? But the night continues, and I am continually tossing until the dawning of day. My body is clothed with worms and a crust of dust, and my skin is hardened and broken and loathsome, and breaks out and runs. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle, and are spent without hope. Remember that my life is but a breath, a puff of wind, a sigh. My eye will not see good again. The eye of him who sees me now will see me no more. Your eyes will be upon me, but I will not be. As a cloud vanishes and is gone, so he who goes down to Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead, does not come up. He will not return again to his house, nor will his place know about him any more. Therefore I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul, O Lord. Am I the sea or the sea monster that you set a guard over me? When I say my bed will comfort me, my couch will ease my complaint, then you frighten me with dreams and terrify me through visions, so that I would choose suffocation and death rather than my pain. I waste away and loathe my life. I will not live forever. Let me alone, for the days are but a breath, futile and without substance. What is man that you should magnify him and think him important, and that you are concerned about him, and that you examine him every morning and try and test him every moment? Will you never turn your gaze away from me? It plagues me, nor let me alone until I swallow my spittle. If I have sinned, what harm have I done to you, O watcher of mankind? Why have you set me as a target for you, so that I am a burden to myself? Why then do you not pardon my transgression and take away my sin and guilt? For now I will lie down in the dust, and you will seek me diligently, but I will not be. Then Bildad the Shunammite answered and said, How long will you say these things? And will the words of your mouth be a mighty wind? Does God pervert justice, or does the Almighty pervert righteousness? If your children have sinned against him, then he has handed them over to the power of their transgression and punished them. If you would diligently seek God and implore the compassion and favor of the Almighty, then if you are pure and upright, surely now he will awaken for you and restore your righteous place. Though your beginning was insignificant, yet your end will greatly increase. Inquire, please, of past generations, and consider and apply yourself to the things searched out by their fathers. For we are only of yesterday and know nothing, because our days on earth are like a shadow, just a breath or a vapor. Will they, the fathers, not teach you and tell you and utter words from their hearts, the deepest part of their nature? Can the papyrus grow up without marsh? Can the rushes or reed grass grow without water? While it is still green in flower and not cut down, yet it withers before any other plant when without water. So are the paths of all who forget God, and the hope of all the godless will perish. For his confidence is fragile and breaks, and his trust is like a spider's web. He trusts in his house, but it does not stand. He holds tightly to it, but it does not endure. He thrives and prospers like a green plant before the sun, and his branches spread out over his garden. His godless roots are wrapped around a pile of rocks, and he gazes at a house of stones. If he is snatched from this place in the garden, then his place will forget him, saying, I have never seen you. Behold, this is the joy of his way, and from out of the dust others will spring up and grow to take his place. Behold, God will not reject a man of integrity, nor will he strengthen or support evildoers. He will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with joyful shouting if you are found blameless. Those who hate you will be clothed with shame, and the tents of the wicked will be no longer. Then Job answered and said, Yes, I know it is true, but how can a mortal man be right before God? If one should want to contend or dispute with him, he could not answer him once in 1,000 times. God is wise in heart and mighty in strength. Who has ever defied or challenged him and remained unharmed? It is God who removes the mountains, and they do not know it, when he overturns them in his anger. Who shakes the earth out of its place, and its pillars tremble? Who commands the sun, and it does not shine? Who seals up the stars from view? Who alone stretches out the heavens and tramples down the waves of the sea? Who made the constellations, the Bear, Orion, and the Pleiades, and the vast starry spaces of the south? Who does great things beyond understanding, unfathomable, yes, marvelous and wondrous things without number? Behold, he passes by me, and I do not see him. He moves past me, but I do not perceive him. Behold, he snatches away. Who can restrain or turn him back? Who will say to him, What are you doing? God will not turn back his anger. The proud helpers of Rahab, the arrogant monster of the sea, bow under him. How can I answer him and plead my case, choosing my words to reason with him? For though I was righteous, I cannot answer. I must appeal for mercy to my opponent and judge. If I called and he answered me, I could not believe that he was listening to my voice, for he bruises me with a tempest and multiplies my wounds without cause. He will not allow me to catch my breath, but fills and saturates me with bitterness. If it is a matter of strength and power, behold, he is mighty, and if it justice, who can summon and challenge him? Though I am innocent and in the right, my own mouth would pronounce me guilty. Though I am blameless, he would denounce me as guilty. Though I am blameless, I do not care about myself, I despise my life. It is all one, therefore I say, he destroys both the blameless and the wicked. When his scourge kills suddenly, he mocks at the despair of the innocent. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covers the faces of its judges so that they are blind to justice. If it is not he, then who is it that is responsible for all this injustice? Now my days are swifter than a runner. They vanish, they see no good. They pass by like the swift boats made of reeds, like an eagle that swoops down on its prey. If I say I will forget my complaint, I will leave off my sad appearance and be cheerful and brighten up, I am afraid of all my pains and worries yet to come. I know that you will not acquit me and leave me unpunished. I am accounted wicked and held guilty. Why then should I labor in vain to appear innocent? If I were to wash myself with snow and cleanse my hands with lye, who would still plunge me into the pit? And my own clothes would hate me and refuse to cover my foul body. For God is not a mere man, as I am, that I may answer him, that we may go to court and judgment together. There is no arbitrator between us. Who could lay his hand upon us both? Would that there were! Let him take his rod away from me, and let not the dread and fear of him terrify me. Then I would speak my defense and not fear him, but I am not like that in myself. I am disgusted with my life and loathe it. I will give free expression to my complaint. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. I will say to God, do not condemn me and declare me guilty. Show me why you contend and argue and struggle with me. Does it indeed seem right to you to oppress, to despise and reject the work of your hands, and to look with favor on the schemes of the wicked? Do you have eyes of flesh? Do you see as a man sees? Are your days as the days of a mortal? Are your years as man's years? That you seek my guilt and search for my sin? Although you know that I am not guilty or wicked, yet there is no one who can rescue me from your hand. Your hands have formed and made me altogether. Would you turn around and destroy me? Remember now that you made me as clay, so you will turn me into dust again. Have you not poured me out like milk and curdled me like cheese? You have clothed me with skin and flesh, and knit me together with bones and sinews. You have granted me life and loving kindness, and your providence, divine care and supervision has preserved my spirit. Yet these present evils you have hidden in your heart since my creation. I know that this was within you in your purpose and thought. If I sinned, then you would take note and observe me, and you would not acquit me of my guilt. If I am wicked, woe to me, for judgment comes. And if I am righteous, I dare not lift up my head, for I am stated and filled with disgrace in the sight of my misery. Should I lift up my head, you would hunt me like a lion, and again you would show your marvelous power against me. You renew your witnesses against me and increase your indignation and anger toward me. Hardship after hardship is with me, attacking me time after time. Why then did you bring me out of the womb? Would that I had perished and no eye had seen me. I should have been as though I had not existed. I should have been carried from the womb to the grave. Would he not let my few days alone withdraw from me, that I may have a little cheer? Before I go, and I shall not return, to the land of darkness and the deep shadow of death, the sunless land of utter gloom as darkness itself, the land of the shadow of death without order, and where it shines as thick darkness. Then Zophar the Naamathite answered and said, Shall a multitude of words not be answered? And should a talkative man making such a long-winded defense be acquitted? Should your boats and babble silence men? And shall you scoff and no one put you to shame? For you have said my teaching doctrine that God knowingly afflicts the righteous is pure, and I am innocent in your eyes. But oh, that God would speak and open his lips to speak against you, and that he would show you the secrets of wisdom, for sound wisdom has two sides. Know therefore that God forgets a part of your wickedness and guilt. Can you discover the depths of God? Can you by searching discover the limits of the Almighty, ascend to his heights, extend to his widths, and comprehend his infinite perfection? His wisdom is as high as the heights of heaven. What can you do? It is deeper than Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead. What can you know? It is longer in measure and scope than the earth, and broader than the sea. If God passes by or arrests or calls an assembly of judgment, who can restrain him? If he is against a man, who can call him to account for it? For he recognizes and knows false and worthless men, and he sees wickedness. Will he not consider it? But a hollow, empty-headed man will become intelligent and wise only when the colt of a wild donkey is born as a man. If you direct your heart on the right path and stretch out your hands to him, if sin is in your hand, put it away from you, and do not let wrongdoing dwell in your tents. Then indeed you could lift up your face to him without moral defect, and you would be firmly established and secure and not fear. For you would not forget your trouble, you would remember it as waters that pass by. And your life would be greater than the noonday darkness, then would be like the morning. Then you would trust with confidence because there is hope. You would look around you and rest securely. You would lie down with no one to frighten you, and many would entreat and seek your favor. But the eyes of the wicked will fail, and they will not escape the justice of God, and their hope is to breathe their last and die. Then Job responded, No doubt you are the only wise people in the world, and wisdom will die with you. But I have intelligence and understanding as well as you. I am not inferior to you. Who does not know such things as these of God's wisdom and might? I am a joke to my friends, I, one whom God answered when he called upon him. A just and blameless man is a joke and laughed to scorn. He who is at ease has contempt for misfortune, but misfortune is ready and anxiously waiting for those whose feet slip. The tents of the destroyers prosper, and those who provoke God are apparently secure when God brings it into their power. Now ask the animals and let them teach you that God does not deal with his creatures according to their character, and ask the birds of the air and let them tell you. Or speak to the earth while its many forms of life, and it will teach you, and let the fish of the sea declare the truth to you. Who among all these does not recognize in all these things and that good and evil are randomly scattered throughout nature and human life? That the hand of the Lord has done this, in whose hand is the life of every living thing and the breath of all mankind. Does the ear not put words to the test, just as the palate tastes its food, distinguishing between the desirable and the undesirable? With the age you say is wisdom, and with long life is understanding. But only with him are perfect wisdom and might. He alone has true counsel and understanding. Behold, he tears down, and it cannot be rebuilt. He imprisons a man, and there can be no release. Behold, he restrains the waters, and they dry up. Again he sends the waters out, and they overwhelm and devastate the earth. With him are might and sound wisdom. The misled and the misleader are his and in his power. He makes great and scheming counselors walk barefoot and make fools of judges. He loosens the bond of kings and binds their loins in a loincloth. He makes priests walk barefoot, and he overturns men firmly seated and secure. He deprives the trusted ones of speech and takes away the discernment and discretion of the aged. He pours contempt on princes and nobles and loosens the belt of the strong, disabling them. He uncovers mysteries that are difficult to grasp and understand out of the darkness, and brings black gloom and the shadow of death into light. He makes nations great, and he destroys them. He enlarges nations, and he leads them away captive. He removes intelligence and understanding from the leaders of the people of the earth, and makes them wander and move blindly in a pathless waste. They grow in darkness without light, and he makes them stagger like a drunken man. Job continued, Behold, my eye has seen all this, my ear has heard it and understood it. What you know, I also know. I am not inferior to you. But I wish to speak to the Almighty, and I desire to argue with God. But you smear me with lies, you defame my character most untruthfully. You are all worthless physicians and have no remedy to offer. Oh, that you would be completely silent, and that silence would be your wisdom. Please hear my argument and listen to the pleadings of my lips. Will you speak what is unjust for God, and speak what is deceitful for him? Will you show partiality for him and be unjust to me so that you may gain favor with him? Will you contend and plead for God? Will it be well for you when he investigates you and your tactics against me? Or will you deceive him as one deceives a man? He will surely reprimand you if you secretly show partiality. Will not his majesty terrify you, and will not the dread of him fall upon you? Your memorable savings are worthless merely proverbs of ashes. Your defenses are defenses of crumbling clay. Be silent before me so that I may speak, and let happen to me what may. Why should I take my flesh in my teeth, and put my life in my hands, incurring the wrath of God? Even though he kills me, I will hope in him. Nevertheless, I will argue my ways to his face. This also will be my salvation, for a godless man may not come before him. Listen diligently to my speech, and let my declaration fill your ears. Behold now, I have prepared my case. I know that I will be vindicated. Who will argue and contend with me? For then I would be silent and die. Only, O Lord, do not do two things to me, and then I will hide myself from your face. Withdraw your hand from me, and remove this bodily suffering, and let not the dread of you terrify me. Then, Lord, call, and I will answer, or let me speak, and then reply to me. How many are my iniquities and sins that so much sorrow should come to me? Make me recognize and understand my transgression and my sin. Why do you hide your face as if offended, and consider me your enemy? Will you cause a wind-blown leaf to tremble? Will you pursue the chaff of the dry stubble? For you write bitter things against me in your indictment, and make me inherit and suffer for the iniquities of my youth. You also put my feet in the stocks of punishment, as critically observe all my paths. You set a circle and limit around the soles of my feet, which I must not overstep, while I waste away like a rotten thing, like a garment that is mothy. Man who is born of a woman is short-lived and full of turmoil. Like a flower he comes forth and withers, he also flees like a shadow and does not remain. You also open your eyes upon him and bring him into judgment with yourself. Who can make a clean thing out of the unclean? No one. Since his days are determined, the number of his months is with you in your control, and you have made his limits so he cannot pass his allotted time. O God, turn your gaze from him so that he may rest, until he fulfills the day on earth like a hired man. For there is hope for a tree, if it is cut down, and it will sprout again, and that the shoots of it will not cease nor fail, but there is no such hope for man. Though its roots grow old in the earth, and its stump dies in the dry soil, yet at the scent of water the stump of the tree will flourish and bring forth sprouts and shoots like a seedling. But the brave strong man must die and lie face down. Man breathes his last, and where is he? As water evaporates from the sea, and a river drains and dries up, so man lies down and does not rise again, until the heavens are no longer. The dead will not awake nor be raised from their sleep. Oh, that you would hide me in Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead, that you would conceal me until your wrath is past, that you would set a definite time, and then remember me, and in your loving kindness imprint me on your heart. If a man dies, will he live again? I will wait all the days of my struggle until my change and release will come. Then you will call, and I will answer you. You will long for me in the work of your hands. But now you number each of my steps. You do not observe nor take note of my sin. My transgression is sealed up in a bag, and you cover my wickedness from your view. But as a mountain, if it falls, crumbles into nothing, and as the rock is moved from its place, water wears away the stones, its flood and torrents wash away the soil of the earth. So you, O Lord, destroy the hope of man. You prevail forever against him and overpower him, and he passes on. You change his appearance and send him away from the presence of the living. His sons achieve honor, and he does not know it. They become insignificant, and he is not aware of it. But his body, lamenting its decay, grieves in pain over it, and his soul mourns over the loss of himself. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered Job and said, Should a wise man such as you utter such windy and vain knowledge as we have just heard, and fill himself with the east wind of withering, parching, and violent accusations? Should he rebuke and argue with useless talk, or with words in which there is no benefit? Indeed, you are doing away with fear, and you are diminishing meditation before God. For your guilt teaches your mouth, and you choose to speak the language of the crafty and cunning. Your own mouth condemns you, and not I. Yes, your own lips testify against you. Were you the first man to be born, the original wise man, or were you created before the hills? Do you hear the secret counsel of God, and do you limit the possession of wisdom to yourself? What do you know? What do we not know? What do you understand that is not equally clear to us? Among us are both gray-haired and the aged, older than your father. As are the consolations of God as we have interpreted them to you too trivial for you? Or were we too gentle toward you in our first speech to be effective? Why does your heart carry you away, allowing you to be controlled by emotion? And why do your eyes flash in anger and contempt, that you should turn your spirit against God and let such words as you have spoken to go out of your mouth? What is man, that he should be pure and clean, or he who is born of a woman, that he should be righteous and just? Behold, God puts no trust in his Holy One's angels. Indeed, the heavens are not pure in his sight. How much less pure and clean is the one who is repulsive and corrupt, man who drinks unrighteousness and injustice like water. I will tell you, listen to me, and what I have seen I will also declare. What wise men have freely told and have not hidden anything passed on to them from their fathers, to whom alone the land was given, and no stranger passed among them corrupting the truth. The wicked man withers with pain all his days, and numbered are the years stored up for him. The ruthless one of terrors is in his ears. While at peace and in time of prosperity the destroyer comes upon him, the tent of the robber is not at peace. He does not believe that he will return out of the darkness for fear of being murdered, and he is destined for the sword of God's vengeance. He wanders about for food, saying, "Where is it?" He knows that the day of darkness and destruction is already at hand. Distress and anxiety terrify him. They overpower him like a king ready for battle, because he has stretched out his hand against God and behaves arrogantly against the Almighty, running and charging headlong against him with his ornamented and massive shield. For he has covered his face with his fat, adding layers of fat to his thighs, giving himself up to pleasures. And he has lived in desolate, God-forsaken cities, in houses which no one should inhabit, which were destined to become heaps of ruins. He will not become rich, nor will his wealth endure, and his grain will not bend to the earth, nor his possessions be extended on the earth. He will not escape from darkness, fleeing disaster. The flame of God's wrath will wither his branch, and by the blast of his mouth he will go away. Let him not trust in vanity, emptiness, futility, and be led astray, for emptiness will be his reward for such living. It will be fulfilled while he still lives, and his branch will not be green, but shall wither away. He will fail to bring his grapes to maturity, leaving them to wither unnourished on the vine, and will cast off blossoms and fail to bring forth fruit like the olive tree. For the company of the godless is barren, and fire consumes the tents of bribery, wrong, and injustice. They conceive mischief and bring forth wickedness, and their inmost soul prepares deceit and fraud. Then Job answered and said, I have heard many such things. Wearisome and miserable comforters are you all. Is there no end to your futile words of wind, or what plagues you so much that you so boldly answer me like this? I also could speak like you if you were in my place. I could compose and join words together against you and shake my head at you. But instead I could strengthen and encourage you with the words of my mouth, and the consultation and solace of my lips would soothe your suffering and lessen your anguish. If I speak to you, miserable comforters, my pain is not relieved. And if I refrain from speaking, what pain or anguish leaves me? But now God has exhausted me. You, O Lord, have destroyed all my family and my household. You have taken a firm hold on me and have shriveled me up. It has become a witness against me. And all my leanness and infirmity rises up as evidence against me. It testifies to my face about my guilt. His wrath has torn me and hunted me down. He has gnashed at me with his teeth. My adversary sharpens his gaze and glares with piercing eyes at me. They have gaped at me with their mouths. With a contempt they have struck me on the cheek. They massed themselves together and conspired against me. God hands me over to criminals and tosses me headlong into the hands of the wicked. I was living at ease, but he crushed me and broke me apart, and he has seized me by the neck and has shaken me to pieces. He has also set me up as his target. His arrows surround me. He pierces my kidneys, vital organs, without mercy. He pours out my gall on the ground. He attacks me, making wound after wound. He runs at me like a warrior. I have sewed sackcloth over my skin as a sign of mourning, and have defiled my horn symbol of strength in the dust. My face is red and swollen like weeping, and on my eyelids is the shadow of death. My eyes are dimmed. Although there is no violence or wrongdoing in my hands, and my prayer is pure. O earth, do not cover my blood, and let there be no resting place for my cry where it will cease being heard. Even now, behold, my witness is in heaven, and my advocate who vouches and testifies for me is on high. My friends are scoffers who ridicule. My eye pours out tears to God. Oh, that a man would mediate and plead with God for me, just as a man mediates and pleads with his neighbor and friend. For when a few years are past, I shall go the way of no return. My spirit is broken, my days are extinguished, the grave is ready for me. Surely there are mockers and mockery with me, and my eyes gaze on their obstinacy and provocation. Give me a pledge, guarantee, promise with yourself, acknowledge my innocence before my death. Who is there that will be my guarantor and give me security for me? But you, Lord, have closed their hearts to understanding. Therefore you will not exalt them by giving a verdict against me. He who denounces and informs against his friends for a share of the spoil, the eyes of his children will also languish and fail. But he has made me a byword and mockery among the people, and I have become one in whose face people spit. My eye has grown dim, unexpressive because of grief, and all my body's members are wasted away like a shadow. The upright will be astonished and appalled at this, and the innocent will stir himself up against the godless and polluted. Nevertheless, the righteous will hold to his ways, and he who has clean hands will grow stronger and stronger. But as for all of you, come back again, even though I do not find a wise man among you. My days are past, my purposes and plans are frustrated and torn apart. The wishes of my heart are broken. These thoughts try to make the night into the day, the light is near. They say in the presence of darkness, but they pervert the truth. But if I look to Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead, as my home, if I make my bed in the darkness, if I call out to the pit grave, you are my father, and to the worm that feeds on decay, you are my mother and my sister, because I will soon be closest to you. Where now is my hope, and who regards or considers or is even considered about my hope? Will my hope go down with me to Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead? Shall we go down together in the dust? Then Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, How long will you hunt for words and continue these speeches? Do some clear thinking and show understanding, and then we can talk. Why are you regarded as beast, as if we are stupid, senseless in your eyes? You who tear yourself apart in anger, is the earth to be abandoned for your sake, or the rock to be moved out of its place? Indeed, the light of the wicked will be put out, and the flame of his fire will not shine. The light will be dark in his tent, and his lamp beside him will be put out. The vigorous stride will be shortened, and his own counsel and the scheme in which he trusted will bring his downfall. For the wicked is thrown into a net by his own feet wickedness, and he steps on the webbing of the lattice-covered pit. A snare catches him by the heel, and a trap snaps shut on him. A noose is hidden for him on the ground, and a trap for him on the path. Terrors frighten him on every side and chase at his heels. The strength of the wicked is famished and weakened, and disaster is ready at his side if he stops. His skin is devoured by disease. The firstborn of death, the worst of diseases, consumes his limbs. He is torn from his tent which he trusted for safety, and he is marched and brought to the king of terrors, death. Nothing of his dwells in his tent. Brimstone, burning sulfur is scattered over his dwelling to purify it. The roots of the wicked are dried up below and above. His branch is cut off and withers. Memory of him perishes from the earth, and he has no name on the street. He is driven and propelled from light into darkness and chased from the inhabited world. He has no offspring or prosperity among his people, nor any survivor where he sojourned. Those in the west are astonished and appalled at his fate, and those in the east are seized with horror. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked and the ungodly, and such is the place of him who does not know or recognize or honor God. Then Job answered and said, How long will you torment and exasperate me and crush me with words? These 10 times you have insulted me. You are not ashamed to wrong me and harden your hearts against me. And if it were true that I have erred, my error would remain with me, and I would be conscious of it. If indeed you braggarts vaunt and magnify yourselves over me, and prove my disgrace humiliation to me, know then that God has wronged me and overthrown me, and has closed his net around me. Behold, I cry out, Violence! But I am not heard. I shout for help, but there is no justice. He has walled up my way so that I cannot pass, and he has set darkness upon my paths. He has stripped me of my honor and removed the crown from my head. He breaks me down on every side, and I am gone. He has uprooted my hope like a tree. He has also kindled his wrath like a fire against me, and he considers and counts me as one of his adversaries. His troops come together and build up their way, and siege works against me and camp around my tent. He has put my brothers far from me, and my acquaintances are completely estranged from me. My relatives have failed me, and my intimate friends have forgotten me. Those who live temporarily in my house and my maids consider me a stranger, and I am a foreigner in their sight. I call to my servant, but he does not answer. I have to implore him with words. My breath is repulsive to my wife, and I am loathsome to my own brothers. Even young children despise me. When I get up, they speak against me. All the men of my council hate me. Those I love have turned against me. My bone clings to my skin and to my flesh, and I have escaped death by the skin of my teeth. Have pity on me, have pity on me, O you my friends, for the hand of God has touched me. Why do you persecute me as God does? Why are you not satisfied with my flesh in anguish? Oh, that the words I now speak were written. Oh, that they were recorded in a scroll, that with an iron stylus and molten lead they were engraved in the rock forever. For I know that my Redeemer and Vindicator lives, and at the last he will take his stand upon the earth. Even after my mortal skin is destroyed by death, yet from my immortal flesh I will see God, whom even I, will see for myself, and my eyes will see him, and not another. My heart faints within me. If you say, how shall we continue to persecute him, and what pretext for a case against him can we find, since we claim the root of these afflictions is found in him? Then beware and be afraid of the sword, of divine vengeance for yourselves, for wrathful are the punishments of that sword, so that you may know there is judgment. Then Zophar the Lament answered and said, Therefore my disquieting thoughts make me answer, because of the uneasiness that is within me. I have heard the reproof which insults me, but the spirit of my understanding makes me answer. Do you not know this from the old days, since the time that man was placed on the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the godless is only for a moment? Though his pride reaches the heavens and his head touches the clouds, yet he perishes forever like his own refuse. Those who have seen him will say, Where is he? He flies away like a dream and cannot be found. Yes, he is chased away like a vision of the night. The eye which saw him sees him no longer, neither does his accustomed place behold him any longer. His sons favor the poor and pay his obligations, and his hands give back his ill-gotten wealth. His bones are full of youthful strength, but it lies down with him in the dust. Though evil and wickedness are sweet in his mouth, and he hides it under his tongue, though he desires it and will not let it go, but holds it in his mouth, yet his food turns to poison in his stomach. It is the venom of vipers within him. He swallows his ill-gotten riches, but will vomit them up. God will drive them out of his belly. He sucks the poison of vipers, which ill-gotten wealth contains. The viper's tongue slays him. He does not look at the rivers, the flowing streams of honey and butter, to enjoy his wealth. He gives back what he has labored for and attained, and swallowed it down to enjoy it. And as for the riches of his labor, he cannot even enjoy them. For he has oppressed and neglected the poor. He has violently taken away houses which he did not build. Because he knew no quietness or calm within him because of his greed, he does not retain anything he desires. There is nothing left of what he devoured, therefore his prosperity does not endure. In the fullness of his access and great abundance he will be in trouble. The hand of everyone who suffers will come against him. He is miserable on every side. When he fills his belly, God will send his fierce anger on him, and will rain it upon him while he is eating. He may flee from the iron weapon, but the bow of bronze will pierce him through. The arrow is drawn forth, and it comes out of his back after passing through his body. Yes, the glittering point comes out of his gall. Terrors march in upon him. Complete darkness, misfortune is held in reserve for his treasures. An unfanned fire will devour him. It will consume the survivor in his tent. The heavens will reveal this wickedness and guilt, and the earth will rise up against him. The produce and increase of his house will depart with the victors. His possessions will be dragged away in the day of God's wrath. This is the wicked man's portion from God, and the heritage decreed and appointed to him by God. Then Job answered and said, Listen carefully to my speech, and let this be the consolation. Bear with me, and I also will speak. And after I have spoken, you may continue to mock me. As for me, is my complaint to man or about him? And why should I not be impatient and my spirit troubled? Look at me and be astonished and appalled, and put your hand over your mouth. Even when I remember, I am troubled and afraid. Horror and trembling take hold of my flesh. Why do the wicked still live, become old, and become mighty in power? Their children and descendants are established with them in their sight, and their offspring before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear, and the rod of God is not on them. His bull breeds and does not fail, his cow calves and does not miscarry. They send forth their little ones like a flock, and their children skip about. They lift up their voices and sing to the tambourine and the lyre and rejoice to the sound of the flute. They fully enjoy their days in prosperity and go down to Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead, in a peaceful moment. Yet they say to God, "Depart from us, for we do not desire the knowledge of your ways." Who and what is the Almighty that we should serve him? And what would we gain if we plead with him? But notice, the prosperity of the wicked is not in their hand, in their power. The counsel of the wicked and the mystery of God's dealings with the ungodly is far from my comprehension. How often then is it that the lamp of the wicked is put out, and that their disaster falls on them? Does God distribute pain and destruction and sorrow to them in his anger? Are they like straw before the wind, and like chaff that the storm steals and carries away? You say God stores away the punishment of man's wickedness for his children. Let God repay him so that he may know and experience it. Let his own eyes see his destruction, and let him drink of the wrath of the Almighty. For what pleasure does he have in his house or family after he is dead, when the number of his months of life is cut off? Can anyone teach God knowledge, seeing that he judge those on high? One dies in his full strength, being wholly at ease and quiet and satisfied. His pails are full of milk, his sides are filled out with fat, and the marrow of his bones is moist. Whereas another dies with a bitter soul, never even tasting pleasure or good fortune. Together they lie down in the dust, and the worms cover them. Behold, I know your thoughts, and the plots by which you would wrong me. For you say, "Where is the house of the noble man, and where is the tent, the dwelling place of the wicked?" Have you not asked those who travel this way, and do you not recognize their witness? The evil men are now reserved for the day of disaster and destruction. They will be led away on the day of God's wrath. But who will confront him with his actions and rebuke him face to face, and who will repay him for what he has done? When he is carried to his grave, a guard will keep watch over his tomb. The dirt clods of the valley are sweet to him, and gently cover him. Moreover, all men will follow after him to a grave, while countless ones go before him. How then can you vainly comfort me with empty words, since your answers remain untrue? Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, "Can a vigorous man be of use to God, or a wise man be useful to himself? Is it any pleasure or joy to the Almighty that you are righteous, or is it to benefit to him that you make your ways perfect? Is it because of your fear of him that he corrects you, that he enters into judgment against you? Is not your wickedness great, and your sins without end? For you have taken pledges of your brothers without cause, and stripped men naked. You have not given water to the weary to drink, and you have withheld bread from the hungry. But the land is possessed by the man with power, and the favored and honorable man dwells in it. You have sent widows away empty-handed, and the armed strength of the fatherless have been broken. Therefore snares surround you, and suddenly dread terrifies and overwhelms you. Or darkness so that you cannot see, and a flood of water covers you. Is not God in the height of heaven? And behold the distant stars, how high they are? You say, "What does God know about me? Can he judge through the thick darkness?" Thick clouds are a hiding place for him, so that he cannot see, and he walks on the vault circle of the heavens. Will you keep to the ancient path the wicked men called in the time of Noah? Men who are snatched away before their time, whose foundations are poured out like a river? They said to God, "Depart from us. What can the Almighty do for us or to us? Do for us or to us?" Yet he filled their houses with good things, but the counsel of the wicked and ungodly is far from me. The righteous see it and are glad, and the innocent mock and laugh at them, saying, "Surely our adversaries are cut off and destroyed, and fire has consumed their abundance." Now yield and submit to yourself to him, agree with God, and be conformed to his will, and be at peace. In this way you will prosper, and great good will come to you. Please receive the law and instruction from his mouth, and establish his words in your heart, and keep them. If you return to the Almighty, and submit and humble yourself before him, you will be built up and restored. If you remove unrighteousness far from your tents, and place your gold in the dust, and the gold of Ophir among the stones of the brooks, considering it of little value, and make the Almighty your gold and your precious silver, then you will have delight in the Almighty, and you will lift up your face to God. Will you pray to him, and he will hear us, and you will pay your vows? You will also decide and decree a thing, and it will be established for you, and the light of God's favor will shine upon your ways. When you are cast down and humbled, you will speak with confidence, and the humble person he will lift you up and save. He will even rescue the one for whom you intercede, who is not innocent, and he will rescue you through the cleanliness of your hands. Then Job answered and said, "Even today my complaint is contentious. His hand is heavy despite my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might even come to his seat. I would present my cause before him, and fill my mouth with arguments. I would learn the words which he would answer, and understand what he would say to me. Would he contend against me with his great power? No, surely he would have given attention to me. There the righteous and upright could reason with him, so I would be acquitted forever by my judge. Behold, I go forward to the east, but he is not there. I go backward to the west, but I cannot perceive him. To the left north he turns, but I cannot behold him. He turns to the right hand south, but I cannot see him. But he knows the way that I take, and he pays attention to it. When he has tried me, I will come forth as refined gold, pure and luminous. My feet have carefully followed his steps. I have kept his ways and not turned aside. I have not departed from the commandment of his lips. I have kept the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. But he is unique and unchangeable, and who can turn him? And what his soul desires, that he does. For he performs what is planned appointed for me, and he is mindful of many such things. Therefore I would be terrified at his presence when I consider all of this. I tremble and dread of him. For God has made my heart faint, and the Almighty has terrified me. But I am not silenced by the darkness of these woes that fell on me, nor by the thick darkness which covers my face. Why does the Almighty not set seasons for judgment? Why do those who know him not see his days for punishment of the wicked? Some remove the landmarks, they violently seize and pasture flocks, appropriating land and flocks openly. They drive away the donkeys of the orphans, they take the widow's ox for a pledge. They crowd the needy off the road, the poor of the land all hide themselves. Behold, as wild donkeys in the desert, the poor go to their work, diligently seeking food, as bread for their children in the desert. They harvest their fodder in a field that is not their own, and glean the vineyard of the wicked. They spend the night naked without clothing, and have no covering against the cold. They are wet from the rain of the mountains, and cling to the rock for lack of shelter. Others snatch the fatherless infants and the breast to sell or make them slaves, and against the poor they take a pledge of clothing. They cause the poor to go about naked without clothing, and they take away the sheaves of grain from the hungry. Within the walls of the wicked the poor make olive oil, they tread the grapes in wine presses, but thirst. From the populous and crowded city men groan, and the souls of the wounded cry out for help. Yet God seemingly does not pay attention to the wrong done to them. Others have been with those who rebel against the light. They do not want to know its ways, nor stay in its paths. The murderer rises at dawn, he kills the poor and the needy, and at night he becomes a thief. The eye of the adulterer waits for the twilight, saying, "No eye will see me," and he covers his face. In the dark they dig into penetrable walls of houses. They shut themselves up by day. They do not know the light of day. For the morning is the same to him as the thick darkness of midnight, for he is familiar with the terrors of thick darkness. They are insignificant on the surface of the water. Their portion is cursed on the earth. They do not turn toward the vineyards. Drought and heat consume the snow waters. So does Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead, consume those who have sinned. A mother will forget him. The worm feeds on him until he is no longer remembered, and wickedness will be broken like a tree which cannot be restored. Here he preys on the barren childless woman and does no good for the widow. Yet God draws away the mighty by his power. He rises, but no one has assurance of life. God gives them security, and they are supported, and his eyes are on their ways. They are exalted for a little while, and then they are gone. Moreover, they are brought low, and like everything they are gathered up and taken out of the way. Even like the heads of grain they are cut off. And if this is not so, who can prove me a liar and make my speech worthless? Then Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, Dominion and all belong to God. He establishes peace and order in his high places. Is there any number to his vast celestial armies? And upon whom does his light not rise? How then can man be justified and righteous with God? Or how can he who is born of a woman be pure and clean? Behold, even the moon has no brightness compared to God's majesty and glory, and the stars are not pure in his sight. How much less then that maggot, and the Son of Man that worm? But Job answered and said, What a help you are to the weak powerless! How have you saved the arm that is without strength? How you have counseled the one who has no wisdom, and how abundantly you have provided sound wisdom and helpful insight. To whom have you uttered these words, and whose spirit inspired what came forth from you? The spirits of the dead tremble underneath the waters and their inhabitants. Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead, is naked before God. and Abdon, the place of destruction, has no covering from his eyes. It is he who spreads out the north over emptiness and hangs the earth on nothing. He wraps the waters in his clouds, which otherwise would spill on earth all at once, and the cloud does not burst under them. He covers the face of the full moon and spreads his cloud over it. He has inscribed a circular limit, the horizon on the face of the waters, and the boundary between light and darkness. The pillars of the heavens tremble and are terrified at his rebuke. He stirred up the sea by his power, and by his understanding he smashed proud Rahab. By his breath the heavens are clear. His hand has pierced the swiftly fleeing serpent. Yet these are just the fringes of his ways, mere samples of his power, the faintest whisper of his voice. Who can contemplate the thunder of his full mighty power? Job continued his discourse and said, As God lives, who has taken away my right and denied me justice? And the Almighty, who has caused bitterness and grief for my soul? As long as my life is within me, and the breath of God is still in my nostrils, my lips will not speak unjustly, nor will my tongue utter deceit. Far be it from me that I should admit that you are right in the accusations against me. Until I die, I will not remove my integrity from me. I hold fast my uprightness and right standing with God, and I will not let them go. My heart does not reproach me for any of my days. May my enemies be as the wicked, and he who rises up against me as the unrighteous unjust. For what is the hope of the godless, even though he has gained in this world when God takes his life? Will God hear his cry when trouble and distress come upon him? Will he take delight in the Almighty? Will he call on God at all times? I will teach you regarding the hand power of God. I will not conceal what is with the Almighty, God's actual treatment of the wicked. Behold, all of you have seen it. Why then do you act vainly and foolishly, cherishing worthless concepts? This which I am about to explain is the portion of a wicked man from God, and the inheritance which tyrants and oppressors receive from the Almighty. Though his children are many, they are destined for the sword, and his descendants will not have sufficient bread. Those who survive him will be buried because of the plague, and their widows will not be able to weep. Though he heaps up silver like dust and piles up clothing like clay, he may prepare it, but the just will wear it, and the innocent will divide the silver. He builds his house like a spider's web, like a temporary hut which a watchman makes, but he lies down rich, but never will again. He opens his eyes, and it is gone. Terrors overtake him like a suddenly rising flood. A windstorm steals him away in the night. The east wind lifts him up, and he is gone. It sweeps him out of his place. For it will hurl thunderbolts of God's wrath at him unsparingly and without compassion. He flees in haste from its power. People will clap their hands at him to mock and ridicule him and hiss him out of his place. Surely there is a mine for silver and a place where they refine gold. Iron is taken out of the earth, and copper is smelted from the stone ore. Man puts an end to darkness by bringing in a light, and to the farthest bonds he searches out the rock buried in gloom and deep shadow. He breaks open mine shafts far away from where people live, and places forgotten to the human foot. They dangle in the mines and hang away from men. As far as the earth, out of it comes food, but underneath its surface, down deep, it is turned over as fire. Its stones are the bed of sapphires, it holds dust of gold. The path deep within no bird of prey knows, and the falcon's eye has not caught sight of it. The proud beast and their young have not walked on it, nor has the fierce lion passed over it. Man puts his hand on and tears apart the flinty rock. He overturns the mountains at the base looking for treasure. He cuts out channels and passages among the rocks, and his eyes sees every precious thing. Man dams up the streams from flowing so that they do not trickle into the mine, and what is hidden he brings out to the light. But where can wisdom be found, and where is the place of understanding? Man does not know the value of it, nor is it found in the land of the living. The deep says, "It is not in me," and the sea says, "It is not with me." It cannot be obtained for pure gold, nor can silver be weighed at its price. It cannot be valued in terms of the gold of Ophir, or the precious onyx, or the sapphire. Gold and glass cannot equal wisdom, nor can it be exchanged for articles of fine gold. No mention of coral and crystal can be made, for the possession of wisdom is even above that of rubies or pearls. The topaz of Ethiopia cannot compare with it, nor can it be valued in pure gold. From where then does wisdom come, and where is the place of understanding? It is hidden from the eyes of all the living and concealed from the birds of the heavens. The place of destruction and death, say, "We have only heard a report of it with our ears." God understands the way to wisdom, and he knows its place, for wisdom is with God alone. For he looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens. When he gave weight and pressure to the wind and allotted the waters by measure. When he made a limit for the rain and a way for the thunderbolt, then he saw wisdom and declared it, he established it and searched it out. But to man he said, Behold, the reverential and worshipful fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. And Job again took up his discussion and said, Oh, that I were as in the months of old, as in the days when God watched over me, when his lamp shone upon my head, and by his light I walked through darkness. As I was in the prime of my days, when the friendship and counsel of God were over my tent, when the Almighty was still with me and my boys were around me, when my steps through rich pastures were washed with butter and cream from my livestock, and the rock poured out for me streams of oil from my olive groves. When I went out to the gate of the city, when I took my seat as a city father in the square, the young men saw me and hid themselves. The aged arose and stood respectfully. The princes stopped talking and put their heads on their mouths. The voices of the nobles were hushed, and their tongues stuck up the roof of their mouths. For when an ear heard my name mentioned, it called me happy and fortunate, and when an eye saw me, it testified for me approvingly. Because I rescued the poor who cried for help, and the orphan who had no helper. The blessing of him who was about to perish came upon me, and I made the widow's heart sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My justice was like a robe and a turban. I was eyes to the blind, and I was feet to the lame. I was a father to the needy. I investigated the case I did not know and assured justice. And I smashed the jaws of the wicked and snatched the prey from its teeth. Then I said, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. My root is spread out and open to the waters, and the dew lies all night upon my branch. My glory and honor are fresh in me, being constantly renewed, and my bow gains ever new strength in my hand. They listened to me and waited and kept silent for my counsel. After I spoke, they did not speak again, and my speech dropped upon them like a refreshing shower. They waited for me and for my words as for the rain, and they opened their mouths as for the spring rain. I smiled at them when they did not believe, and they did not diminish the light of my face. I chose a way for them and sat as chief, and dwelt as a king among his soldiers, as one who comforts mourners. But now those younger than I mock and laugh at me, whose fathers I refused to put with the sheepdogs of my flock. Indeed, how could the strength of their hands profit me? Vigor had perished from them. They are gaunt with want and famine. They gnaw the dry and barren ground by night in the gloom of waste and desolation. They pluck and eat saltwort mallows among the bushes, and their food is the root of the broom shrub. They are driven from the community. They shout out after them as a thief. They must dwell on the slopes of wadis and in holes in the ground and in rocks. Among the bushes they cry out like wild animals. Beneath the prickly scrub they gather and huddle together. They are the sons of worthless and nameless fools. They have been driven out of the land. And now I have become the subject of their taunting. Yes, I am a byword and a laughingstock to them. They hate me, they stand aloof from me, and do not refrain from spitting in my face. For God has loosed his bowstring attacking me, and he has afflicted and humbled me. They have cast off the bridle of restraint before me. On my right the rabble brood rises. They push my feet away, and they build up their ways of destruction against me like an advancing army. They break up and cluster my path, upsetting my plans. They profit from my destruction. No one restrains them. As though a wide breach they come. Amid the crash of failing walls they roll on over me. Terrors are turned upon me. They chase away my honor and reputation like the wind, and my prosperity has passed away like a cloud. And now my soul is poured out within me. The days of affliction have seized me. My bones are pierced with aching in the night season, and the pains that gnaw me take no rest. By the great force of my disease, my garment skin is disfigured and blemished. It binds about me, choking me like the collar of my coat. God has cast me into a mire, a swampland of crisis, and I have become worthless like dust and ashes. I cry to you for help, Lord, but you do not answer me. I stand up, and you only gaze indifferently at me. You have become harsh and cruel to me with the might of your hand. You keep me alive only to persecute me. You lift me up on the wind and cause me to ride upon it, and you toss me about in the tempest and dissolve me in the storm. For I know that you will bring me to death and to the house of meeting appointed for all the living. However, does not one falling in a heap of ruins stretch out his hand, or in his disaster will he not therefore cry out for help? Did I not weep for one whose life was hard and filled with trouble? Was not my heart grieved for the needy? When I expected good, then came evil to me, and when I waited for light, then came darkness. I am seething within, and my heart is troubled and cannot rest. Days of affliction come to meet me. I go about mourning without comfort, my skin blackened by disease, not by the heat of the sun. I stand up in the assembly and cry out for help. I am a brother to howling jackals and a companion to ostriches which scream dismally. My skin falls into me and it blackens flakes, and my bones are burned with fever. Therefore my lyre harp is used for the sound of mourning, and my flute for the sound of the voices of those who weep. I have made a covenant agreement with my eyes. How then could I gaze lustfully at a virgin? For what is the portion I would have from God above, and what heritage from the Almighty on high? Does not tragedy fall justly on the unjust, and disaster to those who work wickedness? Does not God see my ways and count all my steps? If I have walked with falsehood, or if my foot has chased after deceit, oh, let him weigh me with accurate scales, and let God know my integrity. If my step has turned away from the way of God, or if my heart has covetously followed my eyes, or if any spot of guilt has stained my hands, then let me plant and let another eat from the results of my labor, and let my crops be uprooted and ruined. If my heart has been enticed and I was made a fool by a woman, or if I have covetously lurked at my neighbor's door until his departure, let my wife grind meal like a bondslave for another man, and let others kneel down over her. For adultery is a heinous and lustful crime. Moreover, it would be a sin punishable by judges. For it is a fire which consumes to abandon, destruction, ruin, final torment, and illicit passion would burn and rage and uproot all my life's increase, destroying everything. If I have despised and rejected the calm of my male or female servants when they filed a complaint against me, what then could I do when God arises to judge me? When he calls me to account, what will I answer him? Did not he who made me in the womb make my servant, and did not the same one fashion us both in the womb? If I have withheld from the poor what they desired, or have caused the eyes of the widow to look in vain for relief, or have eaten my morsel of food alone, and did not share it with an orphan, but from my youth the orphan grew up with me as with a father, and from my mother's womb I have been the widow's guide. If I have seen anyone perish for lack of clothing, or any poor person without covering, if his loins have not thanked and blessed me for clothing them, and if he is not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted my hand against the orphan, because I saw that the judges would be my help at the council gate, then let my shoulder fall away from its socket, and my arm be broken off at the elbow. For tragedy from God is a terror to me, and because his majesty and exaltation I can do nothing nor endure facing him. If I put my trust and confidence in gold, or have declared the fine gold my hope and assurance, if I gloated and rejoiced because my wealth was great, and because my powerful hand alone has obtained so much, if I beheld the sun as an object of worship when it shone, or the moon going in its splendor, and my heart became secretly enticed by them, and my hand threw a kiss from my mouth in respect to them, this also would have been a heinous sin calling for judgment, for I would have denied God above. Have I rejoiced at the destruction of the enemy who hated me, or exulted in malicious triumph when evil overtook him? No, I have not allowed my mouth to sin by cursing my enemy and asking for his life. I assure you, the men of my tent have said, who can find one in need who has not been satisfied with his meat? The stranger has not lodged in the street, because I have opened my door to the traveler. Have I concealed my transgressions like Adam or like other men, by hiding my wickedness in my bosom? Because I feared the great multitude, and the contempt of families terrified me, so that I kept silence and did not acknowledge my sin, and did not go out the door? Oh, that I had one to listen to me. Look, here's my signature mark. Let the Almighty answer me. Let my adversary write out his indictment and put his vague accusations in tangible form. Surely I would proudly bear it on my shoulder and bind the scroll around my head like a crown. I would count out to him the number of my steps with every detail of my life, approaching his presence as if I were a prince. For if my land has cried out against me, and its furrows weep together, if I have eaten its fruits without paying for them, or have caused its rightful owners to lose their lives, let thorns grow instead of wheat, and stinkweed and cockleburrs instead of barley. So the words of Job with his friends are finished. So these three men ceased answering Job, because he was righteous in his own eyes, and could not be persuaded otherwise by them. But Elihu, the son of Barachel, the Buzite of the family of Ram, became indignant. His indignation was kindled and burned, and he became upset with Job because he justified himself rather than God, and even expressed doubts about God's character. Elihu's anger burned and against Job's 3 friends because they had found no answer and were unable to determine Job's error. And yet they had condemned Job and declared him to be in the wrong and responsible for his own afflictions. Now Elihu had waited to speak to Job because the others were years older than he. But when Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouths of these 3 men, he burned with anger. Then Elihu, the son of Barachel, the Buzite, said, I am young and you are aged. For that reason I was anxious and dared not tell you what I think. I thought my age should speak, and a multitude of years should teach wisdom. But there is a vital force and a spirit of intelligence in man, and the breath of the Almighty gives them understanding. Those who are abundant in years may not always be wise, nor may the elders always understand justice. Therefore I say, listen to me. I also will give you my opinion about Job's situation and tell you plainly what I think. You see, I waited for your words, I listened to your wise reasons, while you pondered and searched out what to say. I even paid close attention to what you said. Indeed, not one of you convinced Job, nor could you refute him. Not one of you supplied satisfactory answers to his words. Beware if you say, we have found wisdom. God thrusts Job down justly, not man, for God alone is dealing with him. Now Job has not directed his words against me, therefore I have no reason to be offended, nor will I answer him with arguments like yours. I speak for truth, not for revenge. They, Job's friends, are dismayed and embarrassed. They no longer answer. The words have moved away and failed them, says Elihu. And shall I wait because they say nothing, but stand still and say no more? I too will give my share of answers. I too will express my opinion and share my knowledge. For I am full of words, the spirit within me constrains me. My belly is like unvented wine, like new wineskins it is about to burst. I must speak so that I may get relief. I will open my lips and answer. I will not, I warn you, be partial to any man, that is, let my respect for you mitigate what I say, nor flatter any man. For I do not know how to flatter in an appropriate way, and I fear that my Maker would soon take me away. However, Job, please listen to my words and pay attention to everything I say. Behold, I have opened my mouth to begin my speech. My tongue and my mouth is going to speak. My words will express the uprightness of my heart, and my lips will speak what they know with utter sincerity. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life which inspires me. Answer me if you can. Set yourselves before me. Take your stand. Behold, I belong to God like you. I too was formed out of the clay. Behold, I will not make you afraid or terrified of me, for I am only mortal and not God. Nor should any pressure from me weigh heavily upon you. Surely you have spoken to my hearing, and I have heard the sound of your words, saying, I am pure without transgression. I am innocent, and there is no guilt in me. Behold, God finds pretext against me. He counts me as his enemy. He puts my feet in the stocks to hinder and humiliate me. He suspiciously watches all my paths, you say. Look, let me answer you. In this you are not right nor just, for God is greater and far superior to man. Why do you complain against him, that he does not answer you with all his doings? For God speaks once and even twice, yet no one notices it, including you, Job. In a dream, a vision of the night, one may hear God's voice when deep sleep falls on men while slumbering upon the bed. Then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction, that he may turn man aside from his conduct and keep him from pride. He holds back his soul from the pit of destruction, and his life from passing over to Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead. Man is also disciplined with pain on his bed, and with unceasing complaint in his bones, so that his life makes him loathe food, and his soul loathe even his favorite dishes. His flesh is so wasted away that it cannot be seen, and his bones which were not seen now stick out. Then his soul draws near to the pit of destruction, and his life to those who bring death, the destroyers. If there is an angel as a mediator for him, 1 out of 1,000, to explain to a man what is right for him, that is, how to be in right standing with God, then the angel is gracious to him and says, Spare him from going down to the pit of destruction. I have found a ransom, a consideration, a reason for redemption and atonement. Let his flesh be restored and become fresher than youth. Let him return to the days of his youthful strength. He will pray to God, and he shall be favorable to him, so that he looks at his face with joy. For God restores to man his righteousness, that is, his right standing with God, with its joys. He sings out to other men, I have sinned and perverted that which is right, and it was not proper for me. God has redeemed my life from going to the pit of destruction, and my life shall see the light. Elihu comments, Behold, God does all these things twice, yes, 3 times with a man, to bring his life back from the pit of destruction, that he may be enlightened with the light of the living. Pay attention, Job, and listen to me. Keep silent, and I will speak. If you have nothing to say, answer me. Speak, for I desire to justify you. If not, and you have nothing to say, listen to me. Keep silent, and I will teach you wisdom. Elihu continued his discourse and said, Hear my words, you wise men, and listen to me, you who have so much knowledge. For the ear puts words to the test, as the palate tastes food. Let us choose for ourselves that which is right. Let us know among ourselves what is good. For Job has said, I am righteous and innocent, but God has taken away my right. Although I am right, I am accounted a liar. My wound is incurable, though I am without transgression. What man is like Job, who drinks up derision like water, who goes in company with those who do evil and walks with wicked men? For he has said, It profits a man nothing when he takes delight and is pleased with God and obeys him. Therefore hear me, you men of understanding. Far be it from God that he would do wickedness, and from the Almighty to do wrong. For God pays a man according to his work, and he will make every man find appropriate compensation according to his way. Surely God will not act wickedly, nor will the Almighty pervert justice. Who put God in charge over the earth, and who has laid on him the whole world? If God should determine to do so, if he should gather to himself, that is, withdraw from man his life-giving spirit and his breath, all flesh would perish together, and man would return to dust. If you now have understanding, hear this. Listen to the sound of my words. Shall one who hates justice and is an enemy of right govern? And will you condemn who is just and mighty? God, who says to a king, You are worthless and vile, or to princes and nobles, You are wicked and evil. Who is not partial to princes, nor does he regard the rich above the poor? For they are all the work of his hands. In a moment they die, even at midnight. The people are shaken and pass away, and the powerful are taken away without a human hand. For God's eyes are on the ways of man, and he sees all his steps. There is no darkness nor deep shadow where the evildoers may hide themselves. For he sets no appointed time for a man that he should appear before him in judgment. He breaks mighty men without inquiry, and sets others in their place. Therefore he knows of their works, and he overthrows them in the night, so that they are crushed and destroyed. He strikes them like the wicked in a public place, because they turned aside from following him, and would not consider or show regard for any of his ways, so that they caused the cry of the poor to come to him. And he heard the cry of the afflicted. When he keeps quiet, who then can condemn? When he hides his face, withdrawing his favor and help, who then can behold him and make supplication to him, whether it be a nation or a man by himself? So that godless men would not rule, nor be snares for the people. For has anyone said to God, I have endured my chastisement, I will not offend any more? Teach me what I do not see in regard to how I have sinned. If I have done wrong, injustice, unrighteousness, I will not do it again. Shall God's retribution for your sins be on your terms, because you refuse to accept it? For you must do the choosing, and not I. Therefore say that you truthfully know. Men of understanding will tell me. Indeed, every wise man who hears me will agree. Job speaks without knowledge, and his words are without wisdom and insight. Job ought to be tried to the limit, because he answers like wicked men. For he adds rebellion in his unsubmissive, defiant attitude toward God to his unacknowledged sin. He claps his hands among us in open mockery and contempt of God, and he multiplies his words of accusation against God. Elihu continued speaking to Job and said, Do you think this is according to your justice? Do you say my righteousness is more than God's? For you say, What advantage have you by living a righteous life? What profit will I have more by being righteous than if I had sinned? I will answer you and your companions with you. Look to the heavens and see, and behold the skies which are much higher than you. If you have sinned, what do you accomplish against him? And if your transgressions are multiplied, what have you done to him? If you are righteous, what do you give God? Or what does he receive from your hand? Your wickedness affects only a man such as you, and your righteousness affects only a son of man, but it cannot affect God, who is sovereign. Because of the multitudes of oppressions the people cry out. They cry to help because of the violent arm of the mighty. But no one says, "Where is God my Maker, who gives songs of rejoicing in the night, who teaches us more than the beasts of the earth, and makes us wiser than the birds of the heavens?" The people cry out, but he does not answer because of the pride of evil men. Surely God will not listen to the empty cry which lacks trust, nor will the Almighty regard it. Even though you say that you do not see him when missing his righteous judgment on earth, yet your case is before him, and you must wait for him. And now, because he has not quickly punished in his anger, nor has he acknowledged transgression and arrogance well, and seems unaware of the wrong of which a person is guilty, Job uselessly opens his mouth and multiplies words without knowledge, drawing the worthless conclusion that the righteous have no more advantage than the wicked. Elihu continued and said, "Bear with me a little longer, and I will show you that there is yet more to say on God's behalf. I will bring my knowledge from afar, and will ascribe righteousness to my Maker. For truly my words are not false. He who is perfect in knowledge is with you. Behold, God is mighty, and yet does not despise anyone, nor regard any as trivial. He is mighty in the strength and power of understanding. He does not prolong the life of the wicked, but gives the afflicted their justice. He does not withdraw his eyes from the righteous, those in right standing with him, but with kings upon the throne he has seated them forever, and they are exalted. And if they are bound in bonds of adversity and held by cords of affliction, then he declares to them the true character of their deeds and their transgressions, and they have acted arrogantly with presumption and notions of self-sufficiency. He opens their ears to instruction and discipline, and commands that they return from evil. If they hear and serve him, end their days in prosperity, and their years in pleasantness and joy. But if they do not hear and obey, they will die by the sword of God's destructive judgments, and they will die in ignorance without true knowledge. But the godless in heart store up anger at the divine discipline. They do not cry to him for help when he binds them the cords of affliction. They die in youth, and their life ends among the cult prostitutes. He rescues the afflicted in their affliction and opens their ears so that they pay attention to his voice in times of oppression. Then indeed he enticed them from the mouth of distress and confinement into a broad place where there is no constraint or distress, and that which was set on your table was full of fatness, rich food. But you, Job, were full of judgment on the wicked. Judgment and justice take hold of you. Do not let wrath entice you into scoffing, and do not let the greatness and the extent of the ransom turn you aside. Will your wealth be sufficient to keep you from the confinement of distress, or with all the force of your strength do it? Do not long for the night when people vanish from their places. Take heed and be careful. Do not turn to wickedness, for you have chosen this, the vice of complaining against God, rather than learning from your affliction. Behold, God is exalted in his power. Who is a ruler or a teacher like him? Who has appointed God his way, and who can say to him, "You have done wrong"? Remember that you should magnify God's work of which men have sung. All men have seen God's work. Man looks at it from a distance. Behold, God is exalted, and we do not know him. The number of his years is unsearchable. For he draws up the drops of water, they distill rain from the mist, which the clouds pour down, they drop abundantly upon mankind. Can anyone understand the spreading of the clouds or the thundering of his pavilion? Behold, he spreads his lightning around him against the dark clouds, and he covers the depths of the sea. For by these mighty acts he judges the peoples, for he gives food in abundance. He covers his hands with the lightning and commands it to strike the mark. His thundering voice declares awesomely his presence. The cattle also are told of his coming storm. Indeed, at his thundering my heart trembles and leaps out of its place. Listen carefully to the thunder of his voice and the rumbling that goes out of his mouth. He lets it loose under the whole heaven, and his lightning to the ends of the earth. After it his voice roars. He thunders with the voice of his majesty. And he does not restrain his lightning against his adversaries when his voice is heard. God thunders marvelously with his voice. He does great things which we cannot comprehend. For he says to the snow, "Fall on the earth," and he speaks to the showers and to the downpour of his mighty rains, "Be strong." God seals, brings to a standstill, stops by severe weather the hand of every man, that all men whom he has made may know his work, that is his sovereign power and their subjection to it. Then the beast goes into its lair and remains into its hiding place. Out of its chamber comes a storm, and cold from the north wind. Ice is made by the breath of God, and the expanse of the waters is frozen. He loads the thick cloud with moisture. He disperses the cloud of his lightning. Its discretion is turned around by his guidance, that it may do whatever he commands it on the face of the inhabited earth. whether it be for correction, or for his earth generally, or his mercy and loving kindness he causes it to happen. Listen to this, Job. Stand still and consider the wonders of God. Do you know how God establishes and commands them and makes the lightning of his storms clouds shine? Do you know about the layers of thick clouds and how they are balanced and poised in the heavens, the wonderful works of him who is perfect in knowledge? You whose garments are hot, when he quiets the earth in sultry summer with the oppressive south wind? Can you with him spread out the sky, strong as a molten mirror? Tell us, Job, what words of man shall we say to such a being? We cannot state our case because of darkness, that is, our ignorance in the presence of the unsearchable God. So shall it be told him that I wish to speak? Or should a man say that he would be swallowed up and destroyed by God? Now people cannot look at the light when it is bright in the skies without being blinded, when the wind has passed and cleared them. Out of the north comes golden splendor, and people can hardly look on it. Around God is awesome splendor and majesty, far too glorious for man's eyes. The Almighty, we cannot find him. He is exalted in power, and he will not do violence to, nor disregard justice and abundant righteousness. Men therefore fear him. He does not regard nor respect any who are wise in heart, in their own understanding and conceit. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, Who is this that darkens counsel, questioning my authority and wisdom, by words without knowledge? Now gird up your loins like a man, and I will ask you, and you instruct me. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me, if you know and have understanding. Who determined the measurements of the earth, if you know? Or who stretched the measuring line on it? Or what were its foundations fastened? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God angels shouted for joy? Or who enclosed the sea with doors when it burst forth and went out of the womb? When I made the clouds its garment, and thick darkness its swaddling band? And marked for it my appointed boundary, and set bars and doors defining the shorelines, and said, This far you shall come, but no farther, and here your proud waves shall stop. Since your days began, have you ever commanded the morning, and caused the dawn to know its place, so that light may take hold of the corners of the earth, and shake the wickedness out of it? The earth is changed like clay into which a seal is pressed, and the things of the earth stand out like a multicolored garment. Their light is withheld from the wicked, and uplifted arm is broken. Have you entered and explored the springs of the sea, or have you walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been revealed to you, or have you seen the gates of deep darkness? Have you understood the expanse of the earth? Tell me, if you know all this. Where is the way where light dwells, and as for darkness, where is it placed? That you may take it to its territory, and that you may know the paths to its house. You must know since you were born then, and because you are so extremely old. Have you entered the storehouses of the snow, or have you seen the storehouses of the hail, which I have reserved for the time of trouble, for the day of battle and war? Where is the way that the light is distributed, or the east wind scattered over the earth? Who has prepared a channel for the torrents of rain, and for the flood, or path for the thunderbolt, to bring rain on the uninhabited land, and on the desert where no man lives, to satisfy the barren and desolate ground, and to make the seeds of grass to sprout? Has the rain a father, or who has begotten the drops of dew? Out of whose womb has come the ice, and the frost of heaven, who has given it birth? Water becomes like stone, and hides itself, and the surface of the deep is frozen and imprisoned. Can you bind the chains of the cluster of stars called Pleiades, or loose the cords of the constellation Orion? Can you lead forth the constellation in the season, and guide the stars of the Bear with their sons? Do you know the ordinances of the heavens, or can you establish the rule over the earth? Can you lift up the voice to your clouds, so that an abundance of water will cover you? Can you send forth lightnings, that they may go and say to you, Here we are? Who has put wisdom in the innermost being of man, or in the layers of clouds? Or given understanding to the mind of man, or to the heavenly display? Who can count the clouds of earthly wisdom, or pour out the water jars of the heavens? When the dust hardens into a mass, and the clouds stick together because of the heat, can you, Job, hunt the prey for the lion, or satisfy the appetite of the young lions? When they crouch in their dens and lie in wait in their lair? For who provides prey for the raven when its young cry to God, then wander about without food? Do you know the time when the wild goats of the rock give birth to their young? Do you observe the calving of the deer? Can you count the months that they carry offspring? Or do you know the time when they give birth? They kneel down, they bring forth their young, they cast out their labor pains. Their young ones become strong, they grow up in the open field, they leave and do not return to them. Who set out the wild donkey free from dependence on man? Who sent and who has loosened the bonds of the wild donkey to survive in the wild? To whom I gave the wilderness as his home, and the salt land as his dwelling place. He scorns the tumult of the city, and does not hear the shouting at the taskmaster. He explores the mountains as his pasture, and searches after every green thing. Will the wild ox be willing to serve you, or remain beside your manger at night? Can you bind the wild ox with a harness to the plow in the furrow, or will he plow the valleys for you? Will you trust him because his strength is great, and leave your labor to him? And will you have faith and depend on him to return your grain and gather it from your threshing floor? The flightless wings of the ostrich wave joyously when the pinion, shackles, and fetters and plumage of love. For she leaves her eggs on the ground and warms them in the dust, forgetting that a foot may crush them or that the wild beast may trample them. She treats her young truly as if they were not hers, though her labor is in vain, unconcerned for the safety of her brood. For God has made her forget wisdom, and has not given her a share of understanding. Yet when she lifts herself on high, so swift as that, she laughs at the horse and his rider. Have you given the horse his might? Have you clothed his neck with quivering and a shaking mane? Have you, Job, made him leap like a locust? The majesty of his snorting nostrils is terrible. He falls in the valley and rejoices in his strength. He goes out to meet the weapons of armed men. He laughs at fear and is not dismayed. And in battle he does not turn back from the sword. The quiver rattles against him, as do the flashing spear and the lance of his rider. With fierceness and rage he races to devour the ground, and he does not stand still at the sound of the war trumpet. As often as the trumpet sounds, he says, "Aha!" And he smells the battle from far away, and senses the thunder of the captains and the war cry. Is it by your understanding that the hawk soars, stretching his wings toward the south as winter approaches? Is it at your command that the eagle mounts up and makes his nest on high in an inaccessible place? On the cliff he dwells and remains securely, upon the point of the rock and in the inaccessible stronghold. From there he spies out the prey, his eyes see it from far away, his young ones suck up blood, and where the slain are, there is he. Then the Lord said to Job, Will the fault finder contend with the Almighty? Let him who disputes God answer it. Then Job replied to the Lord and said, Behold, I am of little importance and contemptible. What can I reply to you? I lay my hand on my mouth. I have spoken once, but I will not reply again. Indeed, twice I have answered, and I will add nothing further. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind, saying, Now gird up your loins, prepare yourself like a man, and I will ask you, and you instruct me. Will you really annul my judgment and set it aside as void? Will you condemn me, your God, and that you may appear to be righteous and justified? Have you an arm like God, and can you thunder with a voice like his? Adorn yourself with eminence and dignity, since you question the Almighty, and array yourself with honor and majesty. Pour out the overflowings of your wrath, and look at everyone who is proud and make him low. Look at everyone who is proud and humble him, and if you are so able, tread down the wicked where they stand. Crush and hide them in the dust together. Shut them up in the house of death. If you can do all this, Job, providing your divine power, then I, God, will also praise you and acknowledge that your own right hand can save you. Behold now, Behemoth, which I created as well as you, he eats grass like an ox. See now, his strength is as his loins, and his power is the muscles and sinews of his belly. He sways his tail like a cedar, the tendons of his thighs are twisted and knit together like a rope. His bones are tubes of bronze, his limbs are like bars of iron. He is the first in magnitude and power of the works of God. Only he who made him can bring near his sword to master him. Surely the mountains bring him food, and all the wild animals play there. He lies down under the lotus plants in the hidden shelter of the reeds in the marsh. The lotus plants cover him with their shade, the willows of the brook surround him. If a river rages and overflows, he does not tremble. He is confident through the Jordan River, swells and rushes against his mouth. Can anyone capture him when he is on watch, or pierce his nose with barbs to trap him? Can you draw out Leviathan with a fishhook, or press down his tongue with a cord? Can you put a rope made of rushes into his nose, or pierce his jaw through with a hook? Will he make many supplications to you, begging to be spared? Or will he speak soft words to you, to coax you to treat him kindly? Will he make a covenant or an arrangement with you? Will you take him for your servant forever? Will you play with him as with a bird? Or will you bind him and put him on a leash for your maidens? Will traders bargain over him? Will they divide him among the merchants? Can you fill his skin with harpoons or his head with fishing spears? Lay your hand on him, remember the battle with him. You will not do such an ill-advised thing again. Behold, his assailant's hope and expectation of defeating Leviathan is false. Will not one be overwhelmed even at the sight of him? No one is so fierce and foolhardy that he dares to stir up Leviathan. Who then is he who can stand before me, or dares to contend with me, the beast's creator? Who has first given to me that I should repay him? Whatever is under the whole heaven is mine. Who can have a claim against me, who made the unmastered beast? I will not keep silence concerning his limbs, nor his mighty strength, nor his orderly frame. Who can penetrate or strip off his outer armor? Who can come to his jaws with a double bridle? Who can open the doors jaws of his face? Around his open jaws and teeth there is terror. His strong scales are his pride, bound together as with a tight seal. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. They are joined one together, they stick together and cannot be separated. His sneezes flash forth light, and his eyes are like the reddish eyelids of the dawn. Out of his mouth go burning torches, and sparks of fire leap out. Out of his nostrils smoke goes forth as from a boiling pot, and as from burning rushes. His breath kindles coals, and a flame goes forth from his mouth. In Leviathan's neck resides strength and dismay, and terror dance before him. The folds of his flesh are joined together, firm on him and immobile when he moves. His heart is as hard as stone, indeed as solid as a lower millstone. When he raises himself up, the mighty are afraid. Because of the crashing they are bewildered. The sword that reaches him cannot avail, nor does the spear, the dart, or the javelin. He considers iron as straw, bronze as rotten wood. The arrow cannot make him flee. Sling stones are treated as stubble by him. Clubs also are regarded as stubble. He laughs at the rushing and the rattling of the javelin. His underparts are like sharp pieces of broken pottery. He moves across and spreads out grooves like a threshing sledge on the mire-muddy riverbanks. He makes the deep water boil like a pot. He makes the sea like a foaming pot of ointment. Behind him he makes a shining wake. One would think the deep to be gray-haired with foam. Upon earth there is nothing like him, no equal exists, a creature made without fear. He looks on everything that is high without terror. He is a monarch over all the sons of pride. And now, Job, who are you who does not dare to disturb the beast, yet who dares to resist me, the beast's creator? Everything under the heavens is mine, therefore who can have a claim against God? Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that you can do all things, and that no thought or purpose of yours can be restrained. You said to me, who is this that darkens and obscures counsel by words without knowledge? Therefore I now see I have rashly uttered that which I did not understand, things too wonderful for me which I did not know. Hear, please, and I will speak. I will ask you, and you instruct and answer me. I had heard of you only by the hearing of the ear, but now my spiritual eye sees you. Therefore I retract my words and hate myself, and I repent in dust and ashes. It came about that after the Lord had spoken those words to Job, that the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, My wrath is kindled against you and against your two friends, for you have not spoken of me what is right, as my servant Job has. Now therefore take for yourself 7 bulls and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job, and offer a burnt offering for yourselves, and my servant Job will pray for you. For I will accept him and his prayer, so that I may not deal with you according to your folly, because you have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job has. So Eliphaz the Temite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite went and did as the Lord told them, and the Lord accepted Job's prayer. The Lord restored the fortunes of Job when he prayed for his friends, and the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Then all his brothers and sisters, who had known him before, came to him, and they ate bread with him in his house, and they consoled him and comforted him over all the distressing adversaries that the Lord had brought on him. And each one gave him a piece of money, and each a ring of gold. And the Lord blessed the latter days of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, and 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he called the name of the first daughter Jerimoth, and the name of the second Keziah, and the name of the third Karen Hupach. In all the land there were found no women so fair as the daughters of Job, and their father gave them an inheritance among their brothers. After this Job lived 140 years, and saw his sons and grandsons 4 generations. So Job died an old man full of days.